Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of Women of Another View. I'm your host, Doreen Finkel, along with Barbara from Harlem,
Hello.
Pat Rivera, Susan Dreamer.
Hi.
And today, folks, we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff. So much is happening to this country all at one time. And today, we're actually going to be talking about education, Common Core, and the upcoming New Jersey election. And if you were in Parsippany, New Jersey, you know that the students in the high school, particularly the freshmen, all got iPads. And this was due to the fact that Parcc, which is the assessment group of Common Core, is going to digitize the assessments. And so they want to give everybody iPads to train them. And so let's go to Barbara from Harlem. You're first. What do you think of this?
Well, I'm just appalled at the whole concept of it. Our children need to learn how to think, solve problems, be able to read a problem through and whatever. And Common Core is not going to give them the basics that they're going to need to navigate through life. And I'm just tired of the liberals thinking that they have the best plan for our nation. They don't.
Right. Now the issue with the district on this is how much money was given to them by Parcc and how much was paid for by the taxpayer or out of pocket. And that remains to be seen. There are some people out there who are doing some investigation.
Good.
And also the fact that now you have the so-called the Me Too society where kids are just given stuff without working for it.
Right.
And kids with these iPads, they put their games on there.
Yes. Yes.
And the district policy is such that the district is control of these iPads, even if the iPad is in your house.
Mm.
So that brings special consideration and concern for the parent because now what else can the district do? Can they spy on you?
Right, absolutely.
So, Pat, share your thoughts.
What's happening with our educational system, the public school system has been manipulated since the beginning of its inception. And way back when, during the industrial era, we were looking to teach children not to think, but to be able to work on assembly lines. We've gotten past that, and some districts have wonderful school systems, but now they're proposing with Common Core to reduce the level in certain areas.
Yes.
Instead of encouraging those who have to work a little bit harder to work a little bit harder, we're now saying that the educational system is too difficult for some, so we're going to reduce the level across the board. Well, how does this help anybody? I mean, I just don't understand the concept. But aside from that, the questions and the standardized testing that they're asking these children is really to gain information about the family.
Yes.
What does the family do? How does the family act? It's almost like information gathering, okay? An intrusion
I would
into our
agree with
lives
that,
through
yes.
education.
Yes.
Right, like a spy tool.
Like a spy
Yes.
tool. It goes back to what you're saying about the iPad. Okay, who would have thought that the whole school system would give everybody an iPad? I don't own an iPad.
And it sounds nice because you're given something, but when, like the other day, I tried to explain it to some students, I said, nobody's ever given.
No,
The money has to come from somewhere.
Somewhere.
right, somebody's paying for
Absolutely.
it.
Someone's paying.
Right, somebody's paying for it. We're, right now, I don't have any children in the school system, but I have a grandchild. And when I saw he happened to be with me the weekend he was getting ready to go back to school, and he said, I have to go shopping for my school supplies. Well, the list of school supplies, I was floored. I thought to myself, do they give you anything in school anymore?
Right.
Considering the tax base that we have. Okay, but we have so many superintendents, so many administrators, so many principals, that's where the money is going. Okay, and actually I didn't buy him pencils and pens because I had plenty of pencils and pens for him, but everything else, a notebook for every single class. I didn't have that growing up. I bought a 3-subject notebook and that was fine for 3 classes, sometimes 4.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
It doesn't make any sense to me. And I don't see them coming out of school with a better education. I don't see our children, and I look at my 15-year-old grandson, and I don't see him being better equipped to navigate issues and problems than we were.
That's right. And also, I noticed as a parent is a lot of these kids aren't getting homework.
Yeah.
They're coming home and they're playing video games.
That's true.
Years ago, we used to come home with at least an hour or two of homework every day.
We did. We did. Or summer reading.
Yeah.
I went to Catholic school, and we came home with 6 books at least to read over the summer and provide book reports as soon as we got back to school. Well, this summer, back to my grandson, we gave him 6 books to read. He only had 1 book to read for school.
Wow.
And do a book report on
Big difference.
Big difference.
Yeah.
No classics. They're not being encouraged to read any of the classics. I actually read 2 of them with him this summer. Okay, I read The Call of the Wild again, and Jack London was a wonderful, wonderful writer. Okay, and we read a couple of Edgar Allan Poe short stories. But they're not encouraged to read that, so they don't see the way some of these authors had a command of the language. Okay, they don't give it to them anymore, and I don't understand that. Well, I sort of do, but.
Right. And,
I know.
folks, Susan here dream of fighting Sharia law, but I'm sure she must know. Can give her an input about the education system.
Well, my personal experience, my son has been out of school for quite some time. He's serving in the military currently. But what I'm hearing from friends, that the education system, and sometimes we go to the school board meetings, children are not incentivized to do better, to get better grades. I remember coming home and we would be asked, okay, do your homework first before you can watch TV. That was the law of my father's house, and that was you could not watch TV until you had all your homework done. Sometimes my parents didn't have the time to check it, and sometimes they would. And I just find children are not reading. I read The Scarlet Letter in 9th grade. And I remember trudging through The Scarlet Letter. What is this going to have to do with my life in the future? It taught me a great deal about life in the future as an adult. And children are not being incentivized and motivated to read anything. All they're told to do is to go on the internet and look at stuff. Take a book, whether you have a Kindle, an e-reader, or a Nook. Read a classic. Tom Sawyer.
Yes.
Right.
Anne of Green Gables.
Right.
Scarlet Letter. Robinson Crusoe. There are so many wonderful American authors out there. I just love to read. I do have a Nook, and I do enjoy reading as a leisurely hobby whenever I get some time. But I just absolutely, the book that Pat mentioned, Call of the Wild, that is one of my favorite books.
Wonderful book.
I mean, Jack London was one of the greatest authors in what is it, the 20th century?
Yes, right.
As far as, why do I have to read this Call of the Wild? I mean, it's just such a wonderful story. I mean, there's so many good authors out there, and I'm just so disappointed to not see children reading books, whether it be on an e-reader, a Nook,
Right.
or a Kindle. If you don't want to carry around a heavy book, I enjoy carrying around heavy books because that's the way we grew up. I mean, we didn't have backpacks back in the 60s and the 70s when I went to school.
We had straps.
But we had book straps.
That's
Do you
right.
remember book straps?
That's right. That's right.
How many book straps did you have? Different colors?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so, I would come home, I remember I had a pile of books, and my mother was
Right.
like, how do you carry all those?
Right.
I mean, and we didn't get rides to school.
Oh, no,
We had to
no.
walk.
We were.
Both of my parents worked, and we had to get up and get ourselves to school on time. And if you were absent, they had mom and dad's phone numbers at work, so that if you were not in school that day, you had to have a very good reason not to be there. I'm sorry to get off on a tangent, but I just find that today,
But you know, the other side of that is when we gave our grandson 6 books to read this summer, we had him write book reports. They don't teach them how to write book reports. Okay, so what he did was, in his book reports, he would reiterate the story. Okay, in The Call of the Wild, it's, you know, the gold rush up in Alaska, and the dog is stolen and taken up there. And the call of the wild is the dog finding his way back to nature. However, it's also about human nature and what was happening at the time, not only with the canine, but with people. So he would write his book report, and he would reiterate the story. You know, the dog did this, or the dog did that, and the dog got into a fight, and they fought for the alpha position. And we said, yeah, but what are you getting out of the story? What are you seeing about the way canine react, the way they react with humans, and the way the humans are reacting at this point in our history? And they're not taught. It's like reading a piece of artwork. What was that artist thinking when they painted that piece of artwork? And what was that author trying to give us back when he wrote this story? And I find that the children today, and it took us almost 6 books to get Alex to go ahead and think about the meaning behind the story. Okay.
Now what happens, God forbid, in any case, in case the digitals go down and electronics go down in some way? I mean, China is already at our electronic grid. So they
Yeah, well, that's
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, what happens?
will these kids have the skills to do everything manually?
Manually. Well, they're not taught to write script anymore.
No, not.
Everything is printing now, and the printing is pretty bad.
Or they use the computer.
Well, but that's why they're not taught to write script anymore. They're taught to print because everybody's using a computer. But what happens to their writing skills? What about spell check? Do they have spelling bees anymore?
I've heard of.
I was an ace, you know.
I was a master speller. That was my
thing. That was my
We learned how to spell through phonics.
Yes.
And today,
Yes.
even, you know, I mean, I know that occasionally I have a dictionary right by my computer, and there are some words that I don't know how to spell.
Or say.
Or even say, and I don't go to spell check, I will actually look up the word.
That's right.
That's right. Well, I have to admit that the beauty of a Kindle or a Nook is that you can look it up right then and there. But the kids today are not taught how to. First of all, they're not taught how to write a sentence. They don't know sentence structure because they don't teach grammar.
Etiquette.
They don't teach grammar anymore.
That's true. No.
Which is part of the reason why they can't write. But Common Core is not going to make this better. It's actually going to make it worse.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So then Parcc is the Partnership for Assessment of Readiness for College Careers. And folks, I want to tell you that the assessment, what they're talking about is the assessment of Common Core objectives, which were already established by the federal government and the Governors Association about 15 years ago, by the way.
Right.
The Governors Association were the ones who adopted it, and they've also copyrighted the objectives, so they cannot be changed, which is a bad thing, only because under Common Core, who's to say that the objectives for one district or one student are good for the objectives for another district?
That's correct.
Very good point.
That's an excellent point.
Excellent.
That's an excellent point, which is why growing up you had different. I was in the 5th grade, maybe the 6th grade, when the teacher pulled me out of the class and told my parents that I had a speech problem. I had come from Manhattan, where the majority of the community was Hispanic, and I talked like, I didn't speak Spanish, but I spoke very rapidly and I would roll my R's. We moved out to Queens, very mixed community, as Barbara knows.
Yes.
Because we both lived in Queens Village.
That's right.
And the nun approached my parents. Now, this is another problem. She said to my parents at a meeting, we would like your daughter to be moved into a speech therapy class. Well, today, many parents would be insulted by that and say there's nothing wrong with the way my child speaks. My parents looked at her and said, well, what's the problem? She said, it's not comprehension. She understands what she's saying, meaning me, but when I spoke in front of a classroom, they couldn't follow me.
Okay.
So they put me into therapy.
Right.
Eventually I went into a speaking class, and I slowed down, and I don't roll my R's anymore. But that was my parents being very active
And vigilant.
and the teacher coming and saying, your child needs a little bit of help, and moving me into a class
Right.
where I would get that help.
Get that help. That's true.
Okay, so do they do that now, or do we now just change the entire system and say everybody's going to be at a lower level, okay, so that those who are having trouble with the higher level can do better? It doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense. What do you do with the children who excel, like my brother, who did 2 grades in 1 year? What do you do with those children who
Right.
excel, or who,
Yes.
you know?
It's not going to incentivize them to
No,
be in
will not.
any AP or higher education
No.
learning.
Now,
I mean, some school districts, I know, I have an older sister who was brilliant. I mean, she was absolutely book smart. You ask her a common sense question, she can't give you an
Lord.
It's
answer.
like
Right.
Common Core.
I mean, you know, you can be book smart and common sense smart. I mean, there is a balance and a middle of the road. There are so many options open to students today, and Common Core is not it.
No, Common Core
No.
is not the answer. Actually, I like to think that Barbara and I had the best. We grew up in Harlem,
absolutely. That's
moved to
right.
Queens Village, so we had street sense
That's right.
Mhm.
and we had education. Okay,
Yes,
and
we
growing up,
I was a sheltered girl on Long Island.
no, well,
Well, you don't know our life.
you don't
That's
know
right.
our life. I'm traveling
right.
on the trains and the buses and walking to school. We didn't have buses taking us to school.
No.
No, we walked.
Snow, sleet, rain,
Right.
we had to walk.
Or we got
And we
bus,
made it.
or we got bus passes.
That's right.
And you went, you
That's
took
right.
public
That's right.
transportation. You got it, well, somebody paid for it, but you went to one bus or a second bus. It was a lot more fun to walk though.
In a group.
In a group,
Yeah,
you know.
shoot the
There was
breeze,
a-
that's
there
right.
was a
Yes.
lot more
Compare
fun
with
to
your
walk.
girlfriends who were in a different class,
Right,
and you would just chit chat.
yeah, it was a lot more fun
True.
to walk. But our concern here, we're joking, but seriously, Common Core is reducing the standards in our schools. Okay, not raising the level in other schools, but reducing them across the board, which puts us at a huge disadvantage.
Right, and instead of 17th in the world,
Yes.
we are, and
Which
and
we
by
are.
the way, we spent approximately 10,000 per student to educate public schools. We're gonna now be 30
Yes,
Yes.
because of it.
and we're gonna pay more money. We're gonna
Right,
pay more money.
Taxes are going to go up.
Yes. Well, yeah, taxes are gonna go up, and we're gonna pay more money, and our students are not gonna get a better education.
No.
Okay, New Jersey has one of the most expensive school systems in the country, and the students are not doing any better than anywhere else.
right. And there are some solutions to this, one being, there's a bill floating around in New Jersey that states, it's pretty much, it relates to charter schools and allows the parents to go to a different school if you're not happy with your district.
Mhm.
And it's sponsored by Senator Anthony Bucco. I will, on our website, I will put this bill up. Okay, I'm drawing a blank.
Right.
That's all right.
That's okay.
I can't mention it for you right now, but we've discussed it on several other shows. And that's one solution to the problem.
Right.
The other one is, if you can homeschool, do it. Homeschool's not for
Absolutely.
everybody, but if you can do it, do it.
But Common Core will affect homeschooling at some
Homeschooling
point.
also.
Yes,
Yes.
Right.
yes. and homeschoolers don't know that yet.